The gravity signatures didn't match. Commander Elena Reyes stared at the sensor readings for the 13th time, her dark eyes narrowing. Something on the planetoid's surface was warping space-time in ways that defied every natural phenomenon in humanity's scientific catalog. "Run the calculation again," she ordered, pushing away from the holographic display. The ship's AI complied silently as the rest of the survey team exchanged glances. They were 37 light years from Earth, farther than any human had ventured before Artemis left the solar system 3 years ago. "Same result, Commander," Lieutenant Parks said after a moment. "Whatever's down there is generating a localized gravitational field that's, well, impossible. Mass calculations suggest it should collapse into a black hole, but it's stable." Elena brushed a strand of hair from her face, feeling the weight of command. 5 years ago, she had been a physicist working on experimental propulsion systems. Now she was responsible for the lives of 22 people at the edge of explored space. "Inform Earth. We're going down there." Their descent to HD 35650 C revealed a barren, airless world, just another unremarkable rock orbiting a distant sun. Except for the structure, that IT stood alone on a dusty plain, a vast tetrahedron of midnight black material that absorbed light rather than reflected it. No seams, no markings, no sign of construction. As if reality itself had been folded into this perfect geometric shape that loomed nearly 60 meters high. "No radiation beyond normal background," reported Dr. Chandra, her voice hushed despite the radio connection. "Composition, unknown. Age, unknown, but the dust accumulation pattern suggests at least 1 million years, possibly much older." Elena approached the structure in her exosuit, feeling something primal and fearful stir in her gut. Humanity had found ruins on Mars. Yes, microbial fossils and the remnants of simple multicellular organisms. But nothing like this. Nothing that spoke of intelligence and purpose and technology beyond comprehension. Her gloved hand touched the surface before she could stop herself. The universe changed at IN, the central nexus of the Radiant Imperium. Supreme Sentinel Zorigval received the alert with a ripple of his sensory membranes. The motion was so slight that none of the lesser Sentinels noticed, but it reflected a disturbance he had not felt in 12,000 cycles. "The Axiom Key has been activated," came the emotionless voice of the Imperium's computational consciousness through his neural implants that Zorik's 4 hearts began to beat in accelerated patterns. The ancient quarantine had been breached. "Location?" he demanded, his outer skin shifting from ceremonial gold to the deep crimson of Imperium urgency. "Unremarkable star system, tertiary spiral arm, minor galaxy designation 117. Species, unknown, not in database. Preliminary readings suggest primitive bipeds with rudimentary spaceflight capability." Zorigval rose to his full height of 3 meters, his gravitational stabilizers adjusting automatically to compensate for his mass on the station's artificial world. "Assemble the 9th Fleet," he commanded. "I will inform the Concordance." Across the vastness of the intergalactic void, in the shadow of what humans would someday call the Andromeda Galaxy, the message propagated through subspace channels established when the first mammals were still scurrying between the feet of Earth's dinosaurs. "The Axiom Key has been found. The quarantine is broken. The containment protocols must be enforced." And throughout the civilized galaxies, ancient races who had watched stars live and die 1,000 times overprepared for war. Elena Reyes awoke in the Artemis Medical Bay with no memory of how she had returned to the ship. Dr. Corey hovered over her, medical scanner in hand. "What happened?" she managed, her throat parched. "You touched that thing. Then you collapsed. The team brought you back." Corey's face was drawn. "That was 36 hours ago." Elena sat up suddenly, memories flooding back. Not her memories, but something else. Information, knowledge, understanding that felt both alien and intimately familiar. "We need to leave," she said urgently. "Now. Right now." "Commander, you need rest. You don't understand." Elena cut him off, swinging her legs over the side of the bed. "They are coming. All of them. And they will destroy us if we are still here." Captain Novak entered, his weathered face grave. "Who's coming, Elena?" "The Imperium. The Concordance. The Voidswarm. Dozens of others." The names fell from her lips as if she'd known them all her life. "I have seen. I know what the artifact is. What it does." She pressed her hands to her temples, trying to sort through the kaleidoscope of alien knowledge now etched into her consciousness. "It's a key," she whispered. "The Axiom Key. It unlocks potential, physics itself. Whoever possesses it can rewrite the fundamental laws of reality." Novak's skepticism was plain on his face, but he was a career astronaut who had seen enough to know when to listen. And touching it gave you this information. It's designed to imprint on the first sentient being who makes contact. A failsafe. The races who created it. They're gone now, but they didn't want it used improperly. A warning klaxon shattered the moment. Lieutenant Park's voice came through the intercom, tense with barely controlled panic. "Captain, we're detecting multiple gravity distortions. Massive ones. Something's appearing." On the bridge, the main view screen showed their doom. 7 enormous vessels materializing from subspace, each one larger than Earth's largest cities. Their designs were organic and flowing, like the shells of impossible sea creatures rendered in metals that shifted colors even as they watched. "Radiant Imperium," Elena said softly. "They are here to contain the threat." "Us." "Open all channels," Novak ordered. "Broadcast and clear all languages." "They won't listen," Elena interrupted. "Not at first." The Axiom Key was sealed away after the last Great War. The Axiom War. It nearly destroyed all advanced life in 3 galaxies. They are not here to talk. They are here to eliminate what they see as an existential threat. As if in confirmation, energy readings spiked across all 7 ships. "Weapons charging. Can we jump to light speed?" Novak asked, his voice steady despite the impossibility of their situation. "Engineering reports ready," Park responded. "Then we run," the captain decided. "Maximum acceleration. Now." The Artemis engines flared, pushing the ship to its theoretical limits. For a heart-stopping moment, Elena thought they might make it. Then reality itself seemed to warp around them as one of the Imperium vessels fired. Not at the Artemis, but at the space ahead of them. A gravitational singularity bloomed, a miniature black hole that would drag them into oblivion. "Evasive," Novak shouted. And that's when Elena felt it. The knowledge from the key unfurling in her mind, showing her possibilities, equations, the very fabric of space-time revealed as malleable and subject to will. "Let me," she said, pushing past the navigation officer. Her fingers flew across the controls, inputting calculations that no human had ever conceived before. The Artemis jumped, not to light speed, but through something else. A dimension that had no name in human language. When they emerged, the stars were different. "Where are we?" Captain Novak asked quietly. Elena looked at the navigational display, feeling strangely calm despite everything. "About 3 light years from Earth," she replied. "We just traveled 34 light years in under 5 seconds." Novak stared at her. "Ow!" The key showed me how to create a quantum entanglement bridge. It's like folding space, but more precise." She paused, sorting through the alien knowledge that sat like a glacier in her mind, vast, cold, and barely explored. "This is only a fraction of what it can do. And these aliens, this Imperium, they will follow us to Earth." Elena nodded grimly. "They will track the quantum signature. And they are not alone. The Concordance will come too. And the Voidswarm. They are older than our entire species, Captain. They have had technology for millions of years. And they are all terrified of what the key can do in the wrong hands." Novak's expression hardened. then we need to warn Earth and find allies. The collective consciousness of the ZYTH absorbed the signal with rising alarm. The quarantine breach was worse than initial reports had indicated. The primitive species had not only activated the Axiom Key, they had somehow unlocked one of its fundamental functions without proper neural architecture. Impossible. Disturbing. Fascinating. The ZYTH had been studying young species for 300 million years, cataloging their development with dispassionate scientific precision. This particular bipedal organism, human, according to their intercepted communications, had shown promise, but was still centuries from consideration for uplifting. And yet, they had done what should have been impossible. Analysis, anomalous neuroplasticity detected in subject species. Recommendation, further study before containment. The thought rippled through the collective consciousness, meeting resistance from more conservative elements who favored immediate sterilization of the contaminated world. The Axiom protocols are absolute. The key must be contained. The species must be removed. Counterproposal. Observation first. The radiant Imperium moves too quickly. The Concordance is blinded by ancient fears. The debate raged within the collective mind of beings who had transcended individual consciousness eons ago. Finally, a consensus formed. We will observe. We will judge. We will decide if these humans represent a genuine threat or something else entirely, that a signal was dispatched through channels unknown to any other race. The ZYTH would watch point 3 days after the Artemis returned to Earth. The first Imperium scout ships appeared in the outer solar system. Earth's governments, still reeling from the implications of Elena's report, marshaled what defenses they had. Wasn't nearly enough. Their smallest vessels could neutralize our entire planet. Elena explained to the assembled world leaders in a secure underground facility. And these are just the advanced forces. The main fleet will arrive within days. Then we surrender the artifact, said the Chinese premier. If it's us or the artifact, the choice is clear. That's not how they think, Elena replied, the alien knowledge flowing through her words. The Axiom Key has imprinted on human consciousness. On me specifically. Even if we surrendered the physical structure, they would still consider humanity contaminated. At minimum, they will demand I be executed. More likely, they will sterilize the planet. Silence fell across the room. What about the knowledge you gained? The U.S. president asked finally. Can we use it? Fight back somehow. Elena hesitated. What I gained was, it's like being given a seed that contains an entire forest. I can access fragments, enough to modify our jump drive, enough to understand who they are. But using the key's full potential would take years, maybe decades of study, which we don't have, the Indian Prime Minister noted grimly. No, Elena agreed. But there's something else we can try. She took a deep breath. Not all advanced species agree with the Imperium's containment protocols. The ZYTH, for instance, are observers, and the Azani Federation has historically opposed extreme measures. You are suggesting we find allies. The European Union president looked skeptical. How will we even contact them? Elena smiled thinly. I know how their communication systems work now. We can send a message. Whether they will listen is another question entirely. Do it, the U.S. president ordered. And in the meantime, we prepare as if we are on our own. Supreme Sentinel Zorikval reviewed the scout reports with mounting concern. The primitive species had demonstrated capabilities far beyond their technological level. Their home system was unremarkable. One habitable planet, rudimentary orbital infrastructure, primitive fusion technology. By all metrics, they should be at least 600 cycles from achieving even limited interstellar travel. Yet they had not only activated the Axiom Key, but used one of its functions to escape the initial containment team. The implications were disturbing. The main fleet is 30 solar rotations from arrival, his second-in-command reported. The Concordance vessels are diverting from the Cygnus Arm and will rendezvous with us. And the Voidswarm, They have dispatched their judgment hive. Estimated arrival: 15 solar rotations. Zorgval's sensory membranes pulsed with discomfort. The Voidswarm were excessive in their methods. Entire systems purged with their all-consuming nanite clouds. But the protocols were clear. The Axiom Key could not be allowed to fall into undeveloped hands. "We have received a transmission," his second continued, displaying obvious surprise. "From the primitives. They are requesting dialogue." Zorgval's 4 hearts skipped simultaneously. "They're using Imperium subspace frequencies? How is this possible?" "Unknown, Supreme Sentinel. But the communication is authenticated in proper Imperium protocols. This changed everything. Or perhaps nothing." "I will hear them," he decided. The holographic projection materialized, a bipedal being, female by their apparent characteristics, dressed in some sort of utilitarian uniform. "Supreme Sentinel Zorgval of the Radiant Imperium," she began, pronouncing his name with impossible accuracy. "I am Commander Elena Reyes of Earth. I understand why you have come, but I ask you to consider an alternative to conflict." Zorgval felt a ripple of surprise pass through his neural pathways. "You speak as if you know our ways, primitive." "The Axiom Key has granted me certain insights," she replied calmly. "I know the history of the Axiom Wars. I know why the key was sealed away. But I also know that my species is not a threat to you." "Any species possessing the key is by definition a threat," Zorgval countered. "Your very ability to communicate in this manner proves it. Or it proves that we are capable of learning, of adaptation, qualities that might be valuable. The containment protocols are absolute. Nothing is absolute, Supreme Sentinel. Not even the laws of physics, as the key demonstrates. The protocols were created by beings no more infallible than you or I." Zorgval's outer skin rippled with agitation. This primitive dared to lecture him on the founding principles of galactic civilization. "You have 15 solar rotations before the Voidswarm arrives," he said finally. "Surrender the key and the contaminated individuals for processing, and perhaps your species will be spared complete extinction." The human's expression remained composed, but Zorgval noted subtle physiological indicators of stress. "I cannot accept those terms," she said, "but I will continue to hope for a peaceful resolution." The transmission ended, leaving Zorgval troubled in ways he had not experienced in 12,000 cycles. These humans were strange indeed. The next 12 days were the most frenetic period of technological advancement in human history. With Elena's guidance, Earth scientists worked around the clock, adapting the knowledge from the Axiom Key to human technology that IT wasn't enough. They all knew it wouldn't be enough, but they had no choice but to try. The ZYTH have responded. Elena informed the Emergency Council on the 4th day. "They are intrigued by us. They have agreed to observe but not intervene." The Azanti remained silent. By the 7th day, they had prototype weapons that could theoretically harm Imperium vessels. By the 10th day, they had shields that might withstand a few volleys from the invaders. On the 13th day, Elena made a discovery within the knowledge the key had granted her. Something about human consciousness itself. "There's a reason the key bonded with me so completely," she explained to Captain Novak and the scientists working alongside them. "Something about human brains that's different from the other advanced species. We are adaptable in ways they are not. We have always been adaptable," Dr. Chunder pointed out. "It's how we survived on Earth." "No, it's more than that," Elena insisted. "The Imperium, the Concordance, all of them, they have been technologically advanced for so long that their neural pathways are optimized, rigid, efficient, but fixed. Our brains are chaotic by comparison. We make connections they can't." Novak frowned. "And that matters because the Axiom Key was designed to be used by multiple connected consciousnesses. The creators were a hive mind species. No single individual was meant to access its full potential." Elena looked around at her colleagues, excitement building. But what if we could create an artificial network? Link human minds together temporarily? You're talking about a neural interface. Dr. Corey looked skeptical. That's decades beyond our current technology. Not with what I know now, Elena countered. Not with what the key has shown me. We can do this. We have to do this. The theory was sound. The practice was terrifying. 30 volunteers, scientists, military personnel, and Elena herself, connected to an experimental neural interface designed to create a temporary collective consciousness, just long enough to unlock more of the key's potential. The risk of brain damage was high. The risk of doing nothing was higher. 2 days before the Voidswarm's arrival, they activated the device. 30 minds became one dot, and the universe opened up before them. Zorikval was meditating in his private chamber when the alert came. Supreme Sentinel, we are detecting an enormous energy surge from the primitive planet. He rose immediately, his ceremonial robes flowing around him as he strode to the command center. Analysis? It matches nothing in our database, Supreme Sentinel. The primitives appear to be generating a field that's altering local space-time consistency. It's similar to Axiom technology, but different, modified. Zorikval felt a sensation he had not experienced since his youth: fear. Prepare for immediate attack. All vessels, full combat protocols. On the main display, the blue-green world seemed peaceful and unthreatening. Then something changed. A sphere of what looked like liquid light expanded outward from the planet's surface. It grew rapidly, engulfing the entire planet, then the inner system. What is this? Zorikval demanded. Unknown, Supreme Sentinel. But it's approaching our position at... The sphere reached them before his second-in-command could finish the sentence. And then, nothing happened. The ships remained intact. Their systems functioned normally. But something was different. Zorikval could feel it in his very being. Supreme Sentinel, his communications officer called, voice unsteady. We are receiving a transmission from all vessels simultaneously, including our own. Explain. It's as if our communication systems are broadcasting independently. The signal is coming from everywhere. The holographic display activated without command, showing the human female again. But she appeared different. Her eyes now glowed with inner light. Behind her stood other humans in a semicircle, their eyes similarly illuminated. Supreme Sentinel, she said, her voice resonating strangely, as if multiple voices spoke in perfect unison. We have activated the defensive protocols of the Axiom Key. Your weapons are now non-functional within this solar system. Zorikval checked his tactical display. It was true. The weapons systems registered as physically present, but somehow inaccessible, as if they existed in a slightly different phase of reality. This is impossible, he stated, but without conviction. The Axiom Key made many impossible things possible. We have no desire for conflict, the human collective continued. We seek only to exist and to learn. The key has shown us the true breadth of the universe and our place within it. We understand your fear, but it is unfounded. You cannot control the key, Zorikval insisted. No single species can. That was proven in the Axiom Wars. We are not attempting to control it. We are learning from it. There is a difference. A new signal interrupted them, a transmission unlike any Zorikval had encountered in his long existence. It filled the command center with a presence that seemed to exist both within and outside normal space. The ZYTH-RIL collective acknowledges the anomaly. We have observed. We have judged. These humans represent a new path, the ZYTH-RIL. They never intervened. Not in 12,000 cycles had they directly addressed the Imperium. The containment protocols are obsolete in this instance. The humans do not seek dominion. They seek understanding. The protocols exist for a reason, Zorikval argued, aware he was addressing one of the oldest civilizations in known space. No single species can be trusted with such power. Perhaps, But these humans are not using the key as others would. Observe. The tactical display shifted, showing Earth again. The sphere of light was changing, contracting back toward the planet. But it left something in its wake, a network of gossamer-thin lines connecting the planets, moons, and even the sun itself. Some kind of field that linked the entire system together. What have they done? Zorigval whispered. The human collective spoke again. We have created a localized phase shift network. Our solar system now exists partially in a dimension where your weapons cannot function. We will maintain this defense until we can be assured of our safety. And if the Voidswarm arrives, if the Concordance brings their reality splitters, we will adapt, the humans said simply, as we always have. Zorigval felt something shift within him, a perspective that had remained fixed for thousands of cycles suddenly changing. These humans, they were not using the key for conquest or destruction. They had taken its power and immediately turned it toward protection, toward survival. The Imperium has existed for over 300,000 of your years, he said slowly. In that time, we have encountered 17 species who discovered Axiom technology. 16 were deemed too dangerous and removed. One joined us as equals, but only after proving themselves over 7,000 cycles. And what did that proof require? Elena asked. Wisdom, restraint, understanding that power without purpose is meaningless. Then judge us by our actions, not our potential, she responded. We have the means to attack, yet we choose defense. We have the knowledge to destroy, yet we seek only to preserve. The ZY real presence pulsed in agreement. They are different. Watch, learn, evolve. Zorigval made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. I will recommend to the Imperium Council that the containment protocols be suspended in this case, pending further observation. He paused, his sensory membranes rippling with what might have been respect. But the Voidswarm will not be so easily persuaded. They operate on more absolute principles. Then we will face them when they arrive, Elena said, and perhaps show them another way as well. 2 days later, the Voidswarm emerged from subspace, a vast cloud of interconnected units that functioned as both ships and weapons, capable of reducing entire worlds to component atoms. They did not bother with communication. They never did. The Voidswarm existed to consume and convert, to bring all matter into their collective. They struck immediately, throwing themselves against Earth's phase shift barrier. The barrier held. Enraged, the Voidswarm escalated, deploying their reality splitters, weapons designed to tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. For a terrible moment, it seemed they might succeed. The phase shift network flickered, power fluctuations rippling across its ethereal surface. In the neural interface chamber on Earth, Elena and the 29 other linked minds felt the assault as physical pain. Several of the volunteers collapsed, blood streaming from their noses as the neural load became too great. We are losing coherence, Dr. Corey reported from outside the interface. Brain patterns becoming erratic in subjects 7 through 12. Disconnect them, Elena ordered, her voice strained. The rest of US will compensate. That could kill you, Novak warned. If the Voidswarm breaks through, we are all dead anyway. The disconnected volunteers were removed from the chamber, leaving 23 minds to bear the full brunt of maintaining the barrier. Elena felt as if her skull were being split open, but she pushed through the pain, drawing deeper on the Axiom Key's knowledge. There's another way, she realized suddenly. We are thinking like them, trying to oppose force with force. But the key shows us alternatives. Through the collective consciousness, she shared her insight with the others. They understood immediately, their unified mind shifting approach. Outside, the Voidswarm pressed their attack, convinced that victory was near. The phase shift barrier was weakening, fluctuations increasing. Then it changed. Instead of resisting the Voidswarm's reality splitters, The barrier began to absorb them, drawing their energy into itself. The more the Voidswarm attacked, the stronger the barrier became. It was like trying to extinguish fire with oxygen. Confused, the Voidswarm hesitated. This had never happened before. In that moment of hesitation, the human collective struck, not with weapons, but with communication. They projected a signal directly into the Voidswarm's hive consciousness, a signal derived from the Axiom Key, speaking in the Voidswarm's own internal language that we are not your enemy. We are not your prey. We are something new. The Voidswarm recoiled, billions of interconnected units, simultaneously experiencing something they had not known in 50 million years. Doubt. You exist to consume. We understand, but there are other paths. The Axiom Key shows us all paths. And with that signal came information, knowledge from the Key about alternate power sources, about methods of conversion that didn't require destruction, about symbiosis rather than consumption. The Voidswarm's attack faltered, then ceased entirely. Their vast cloud began to contract, pulling away from Earth's solar system. They weren't retreating exactly. They were. Considering that in the neural interface chamber, Elena laughed weakly through the pain. They're actually thinking about it. They have never had to think before. Is it over? Captain Novak asked, helping disconnect the volunteers as medical teams rushed in. No, Elena replied, her glowing eyes dimming as the interface powered down. It's just beginning. 6 months later, Elena Reyes stood before the newly formed Galactic Congress on a neutral space station at the edge of human-controlled space. Representatives from 27 advanced civilizations had gathered, an unprecedented assembly. The Radiant Imperium's delegation was led by Zorikval himself. The ZYT Trill had sent an actual physical manifestation, a rarity for a species that existed primarily as pure consciousness. Even the Voidswarm had dispatched a specialized unit to observe and communicate. The human species proposes a new protocol, Elena began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. The Axiom Key was sealed away because no single entity could be trusted with its power. We agree with this assessment. A murmur ran through the gathered representatives. However, she continued, we believe that knowledge should not be destroyed or hidden, but shared with appropriate safeguards. What we propose is the establishment of the Axiom Archive, a repository of knowledge accessible to all civilizations who agree to certain principles of non-aggression and mutual defense. Zorikval's sensory membranes rippled with surprise. You would willingly share the power you have acquired? Power hoarded is power that corrupts, Elena replied. We have seen that pattern throughout our own history. The strongest civilizations are those built on cooperation and shared knowledge. And what guarantees do we have that humans won't use this archive to dominate others? Asked the Concordance representative, a being of pure crystalline thought. The same guarantee you have with any treaty: mutual interest and mutual accountability. The archive will be governed by a council representing all member species. No single race will control it. The debate raged for days, with factions forming and reforming as the implications were considered. The Voidswarm, surprisingly, were among the first to provisionally accept the proposal, seeing in it a path to evolution beyond their consuming nature. Eventually, a consensus emerged. The Axiom Archive would be established, beginning with the knowledge humanity had gleaned from the Key, but expanding to include technological and scientific contributions from all member species. The Congress adjourned. Zorikval approached Elena privately. In 300,000 cycles, I have never witnessed a species adapt so quickly, he admitted. When we first detected your activation of the Key, I was certain we faced another Axiom war. Instead, you got an Axiom Archive. Elena smiled. You must understand our caution. The Key nearly destroyed all advanced life once before. I do understand, but we saw a different possibility in it. Zorikval was silent for a moment, his massive form unnaturally still. When your neural collective faced the Voidswarm, you could have destroyed them. The key would have shown you how. Why didn't you? Elena considered the question carefully. Because destruction is easy. Anyone can destroy. Creation, bringing something new into existence. That's the real challenge. That's what the Key's creators understood in the end. And that's what we want to honor. The Imperium will be watching you, Commander Reyes. Your species has much to prove still. As do we all, she replied. But we will do it together. As Zorikval departed, Elena looked out through the viewport at the star-strewn void. 6 months ago, humanity had been alone, confined to a single solar system, unaware of the vastness of galactic civilization. Now they stood at the threshold of a new era, not as conquerors, but as connectors. Bridges between ancient rivals. Innovators who saw possibilities where others saw only threats. That, she reflected, was humanity's true strength. Not that they were stronger or smarter or more advanced than the elder races, but that they could see with fresh eyes, make connections that millennia of established thought had overlooked. The Axiom Key had not given them power over the universe. It had given them something far more valuable, a new perspective. And with that gift, they had changed the shape of galactic history, not through force of arms, but through the uniquely human talent for finding a third option when everyone else saw only two. The intergalactic war that had threatened to begin with humanity's discovery had instead transformed into an unprecedented peace. And that, Elena thought as she watched the starlight, was worth all the pain and fear they had endured. That was humanity's mark on the cosmos.